DrStem, welcome to Empower Network TV. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Hello, and hello, everyone.
Well, it's going to be fun talking about what you just said, the acronym. So do you want to tell us what that acronym means?
Oh, okay. So you asked me what my tagline is, and I say to you, it's Y.O.H.O, Y-O-H-O, which means you only have one life. Live it or lose it.
Now, did you do a TEDx talk? You said you did a TED talk with that topic. Okay, so how did your TED talk go?
It went very well. I mean, because you know what, I've been in mental health counseling. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I'm also a life coach and a speaker. So, as you might know, one of the things for speakers is when you do a TED talk, it's almost like, that's one of those, tickets that you have as a speaker to say, yes, I have arrived. That's how I see it, right? So for years, I've wanted to do a TED talk, and I finally got the opportunity to do that beginning of this year. And I, wanted to just talk about what I believe in and what my work entails. And Y.O.H.O was one of those, terms that came up. You only have one life, because I'm always reminding people to say, listen, it's not like we have a redo of life. We only have one life. So I thought a reminder to people, to say, listen, if you can keep it in your mind, in your head, to say, I only have one life, and I can either use it to the best of my ability and live it to the best of my ability, or lose the life, because eventually we're all going to lose it. And I went for that TED talk and, had fun doing it. It was more a gift to myself, having to look at, the time that I've been in the United States, because I'm originally from Zimbabwe, just in case anybody can hear the accent. So, when you listen to the TED Talk, it's literally a reflection of how I have used my days in the United States and my life in the United States to make the most of my days as I empower, inspire, and encourage others to live their best life.
Okay, so hailing from Zimbabwe, when did you, what was it like growing up there? How many were you there as a kid? Were you there as a teenager?
I came here when I was 18. And I am a proud 58. I'm turning 59. Oh, wow. Time flies. So I'm the firstborn of 7 children, 5 girls and 2 boys. And growing up there, it's almost like we began in a little township. They call them township, a real small township called Kambuzuma. And it was hard, being in that little township. Dad was working out of town. Mom wasn't, working. So we would plow the fields, sell some mangoes and sell corn in order for us to get, money for school fees. And I, as the firstborn, used to refuse to go on the streets, because you would put the mangoes in a basket and go, and you're yelling mangoes on the streets. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But then I would go with my sisters to protect them, and they would carry the baskets to sell the mangoes. And it's interesting, because when I came here and, went through school and started writing books, I'm an author of over 45 books. I started writing books, and I would tell people that those are my mangoes, because I'm not afraid and I'm not embarrassed to sell those kind of mangoes. And now I understand, I'm in also sales and marketing, and how you gotta be personable. And we would go in the neighborhoods and sell the mangoes, and my sisters were like, oh, we could give you 2 for 1 if you buy this too, because we didn't want to go home empty-handed, So yeah, so it was really interesting. And my mom, she had a gift of knitting sweaters, which didn't require her to have a college education or, some form of training or anything. She just learned from, looking at her aunt who was knitting sweaters. Her aunt taught her to do that. And then she had this full-blown, business of knitting sweaters, where she was knitting sweaters for small children and adults. So that was business. And at that time, she just was trying to feed her children. My dad ended up, being a real estate agent. So I would go with him selling houses. So it was always about business and also sales that I was learning with them. And I could see how personable they were with the people, and how people really were drawn to them, and then would refer other people because they had a good service. So that to Zimbabwe to me was my foundation for the businesses that I run today for myself, as to how you run that, those business, how you interact with people, and how personable you need to make your business.
You certainly have a lot of drive. That's clear.
Hey, remember now, you only have one life.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You only have one life. When did that really set in for you, that realization? When did that happen?
When I came here, I came to go to school for computers. And I was going to be a computer, analyst or a computer, person, because in the 80s, that was the big selling, career in computers. So I wanted to make money. I wanted to take care of my, siblings and to help my parents out. So I came with that ambition that I wanted to be in computers. But then I worked in a nursing home as a nurse's aide in order for me to get money to pay for my school fees and, also for accommodation. So I worked as a nurse's aide and I was going to school at night. But in that nursing home, I remember, it's in one of my first books, I remember meeting a family there that, was bringing in their mother in the nursing home. And I went to greet them because this woman was crying in the parking lot, the lady in the wheelchair. And I went, you know what, let me go help her out. So I went because it was a daughter. So she's got all these bags and she's trying to push the mother into the nursing home. So I went out and I said, ma'am, can I help you? At least I'll hold the bags or I can push the wheelchair. And she says, no, you can push the wheelchair. I'll hold the bags. Thank you. And I took the lady, put her, in one of the rooms in there. So in nursing homes, they give you assignments. So they will assign you, different patients that you take care of. So she wasn't assigned to me when they brought her in, but then I took her and I went and I sat there with the lady and I said, ma'am, I'm one of the nurses aides here. I'm not assigned to you, but I want you to know that you'll be in good hands, and my name is Stem, which is short for Stembile, hence the Dr. Stem. It's STEM, Stembile. And I said, I'm going to sit with you and I will, help you out and talk to her. She said, well, but my daughter doesn't understand that I took care of her and now they're putting me in this place where they're not willing to take care of me. And I don't know where I got that from. But I say to her, well, I don't think it's because she doesn't want to take care of you. I'm a foreigner in this country. And ma'am, I've seen how hard it is to trying to pay the bills and also take care of loved ones at home. So I think sometimes these decisions are made because they know that you will get the best care in a space like this here where she'll be coming and she's willing, she's open to come and visit you at any time so that, there are no secrets and, you're not feeling alone. So by me talking to her like that, and then I went and did my patients, came back and checked on her. Then I talked to her daughter who was like a wreck. And I also talked to her to also reassure her that it was a good decision, to do that. And she told me her story that she was a single parent and she didn't have any siblings and all that, right? So then when I came back with the patient about a week later, she said, listen, you said you're from Zimbabwe. What are you doing in America? What did you come to do? I said, computer science. And she said, no, that's not what you're here to do. That's not your career. You need to be a social worker. And I said, ma'am, thank you for that, but I'm not going to be a social worker because in Zimbabwe, social workers go into homes and they tell people to go on the birth control pill so that they don't have more children, and they give them food and help them, with extra food and stuff. And I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. And she says, no, honey. What you did to talk to me and talk to my daughter, you helped both of us to come to terms with this place where we are now. And I'm actually comfortable. And when you come in every morning, I'm like, is STEM working today? And, before I can ask you here, good morning, how are you doing? And every day you're checking on me. And my daughter said, you call her as well to check on her. That's what social workers do. I said, do they get paid? She's like, oh yeah, they get paid, they get paid if you go into private therapy. So that's how I started, that journey, which as soon as I dropped the classes for social work and I started going through social work and sociology classes, I was like a ball of light, like, I love doing this. I work with people and I help people recognize and realize that we only have that one life. And that day that this, came to this lady that came to the nursing home comes sooner than we know. for many people, because many of us think, I'm going to be old. And, by the time that I get 80, it's also a gift to be able to get to that age and to have the opportunity to be in a nursing home, because many don't even get that opportunity to be old, which is a gift to be old. So I came up with that term after I realized that with the work that I was doing. I've worked in nursing homes, I've worked in hospice, I've worked in the hospitals, in the heart and lung transplant. So I have seen people from all phases of life regretting and laying down there, and I'm helping them with accepting the inevitable for the families and the patients themselves. And I saw regrets, people regretting their lives and regretting the times that they had and regretting what they wish they could have done. And I realized that, what, it is one life that we all have. And if we just can remember that I only have one life in everything that we do, it doesn't take away the problems. It doesn't take away, what we face in life, but it makes it much manageable, a manageable journey to transition when you can realize that, what, I have a choice to either look at it as this is my one moment that I can make the most of it, or I can feed into this negativity or this difficulty and make everything else, appear to be difficult, when there's just one little thing that I can look at it and it can give me the courage and energy to go through each day.
Okay, so let's go to the books then. How and why would you write 40 something books? Like, how does that work?
So here's the thing, right? Because I'm a licensed psychotherapist, 25 years of experience. I started writing, let me tell you, the way that I started writing, the first one is, the power of prayer. Being a foreigner in this country, I had never traveled anywhere. My parents had never gone anywhere. So I didn't have that village that, in Zimbabwe, you have a village that raises you. I had to find people that I could, get along with, that could show me the ropes of navigating, this land of opportunity. And I never take it for granted that, to me as a kid in Zimbabwe, America was always a land of opportunity. So no matter, what happens in this country, I'll always see it as that, because I have had more opportunities than I could ever have accessed if I was in Zimbabwe. So I'll always see it in positive light, right? So I didn't want to forget that. This is an opportunity that is not, given to many. Only a few of us get to have this opportunity of coming to the United States or anywhere around the world to have this opportunity. So my first book, I wrote it as my way of connecting with my values and where I came from, because when they, put me on the plane to come here, when I came in the early 80s, there were big prayer, prayer parties that we did with, my church and everything. And they prayed that I don't forget that God is with me, that I walk by faith, that I have, a bigger and higher power that works with me. So for me to remind myself that in this world where, some people are saying pray, some people are saying, no, there's no God and everything, I didn't want to get lost. So I wrote The Power of Prayer. And I broke down the serenity prayer on just, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I can change and to also change those things that I can change. I broke it down, and that became my book, on breaking down that in relation to life. After that, I said, okay, I'm in school, I'm working, but then I need to expand myself and do other things and explore other things. But I was afraid. And I was afraid that people didn't understand me. I was afraid that, maybe I didn't have the right qualities. So every time that I say something and somebody says, could you repeat that? That scared the wits out of me, because then I'm thinking, oh boy, they don't understand me. And here I go again. So I would repeat myself. And that was scary, that I wouldn't be able to work for big companies, because then they're not going to understand me. So I write, it's time to shift from fear to faith. I said, now I got to walk by faith, and knowing that I'm trained here. I went to school here. So if those teachers didn't understand me, why did they give me passing grades so that I could go up the podium and get a degree every time? So I started off with an associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and get the doctorate degree. I said, why would they give me those? Because I just didn't get them. I had to study. So with that, now I started writing, books. I was writing them for myself at first, those very first few ones. And then once I started working as a social worker at first, where I was doing hospice, and then I got licensed and got into private, practice and working in the hospitals, I realized that there were not many people that would come from, counseling, because mental health is for the crazy, and I'm not depressed and I'm not anxious, so I don't need to see a therapist. And then those people that I met and talked to, they found really transformation with the work that we did together in therapy, right? So I said, okay, if you, can't come to me, then I'm going to come to you. And not only am I coming to you in the United States, I'm coming to you around the world and talking to you as a therapist, but through the books. So I write the books where it's very relatable, because I write about true life. I write about, real situations and real issues, where when you read that book, you might as well be sitting with me in my office and saying, I remember when you said that about the fear and you talked about your situation, I can relate to it. So it became fun for me to write, Unstoppable, living a free and fearless life. Let your light shine. It's time for your light to shine, because you're unique. You have to be you have to be free, and just live your unstoppable life. There's nobody looking at you to say, what, you're doing too much or you're doing too little. It's your own life, and you have this one lane to go. So that's the reason why you will see so many books. I also worked with teenagers and parents for the 25 years, about 10, 15 of those years, I worked with teenagers and parents. I have books there where I was talking to teenagers, and one that I'm talking to parents, some that I'm talking to parents. So when you look at the library, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a therapist talking to clients that have issues, and we all have issues, right? All of us. Yeah. So that's why I kept writing. Now I've transitioned where I now write anthologies, and this year I'm publishing my first anthology where I'm writing with other women, 21 other women, so that they can also tell their stories, because then it is through stories that we can have that best life that we all yearn for.
Amy Mikowski is the person who invited you, and I'm just thankful. I'm thankful she invited you. You're just there's a whole lot going on here. So you're what are you looking forward to the most in the next year or two? What's on the horizons for you, DrStem?
Horizon for me, as I said, the anthology is, so for when COVID started, I thought like a therapist, because I closed down my office, and it broke my heart, because then there were people that came every week and they looked forward to our sessions, and it was one of those things that kept them going, but it also kept me going, knowing that they would be coming and we can talk about what's going on, and we can talk about some coping skills, as they dealt with different things in life. So when I saw that I couldn't do that, especially I was working with elderly population as well, Medicare patients, I mean, this technology was just scary for them. So here I am now, I'm saying, we're going to do it on Zoom, or I can do it, on the phone. And they're like, no, but I don't want to do this, and I can't do that, and I want to see you in person. And then even, the young ones fought this process of coming on here, right? So then what I realized too was, not only are we responsible for those clients that we had, we're now responsible for literally everybody else that never went into therapy, because this is scary. We are losing lives. We are, mentally, it was going to be a bigger impact than we know. So I started an online conference, a virtual conference, which is called Bounce Back. And Bounce Back, I'm always a forward-thinking person. And I thought, if we focus on this illness and this COVID-19 destroying us and destroying the way that we've lived life, then that's going to be self-defeating. Why don't we think, beyond this? How are we going to bounce back? What do we want to see once this is over? So let's do a Bounce Back Empowerment Conference. So I did it virtually for the last 3 years. This year will be year number 4 where we're doing it. The first year, I just went on Facebook and I said, hey, I'm doing a bounce baker. If you're a speaker and you want to, help out, or you want to just empower people, uplift people, please help me. Let's do this. So then people came and I selected, a few speakers there, and it was chilling goosebumps. Second year, I said, whoa, look at these speakers. Last year, I just couldn't believe it. And they put their all in their speeches and their life stories. And I thought, as I was saying thank you to them, it just blurted out of my mouth. I said, you know what? For some reason, I feel like we need to put your stories in a book where those that are not watching this video, that are not here, can read your book and can be empowered. But I'm also a person that loves to promote other people. So as you do that, I also have a show, DrStem show, where I interview people. It's also on YouTube. And I said, but when we write that book, it's a promotion as well for your work and letting the world know what it is that you're doing. But I'm very impressed. Let's start an anthology. And every year when we do the Bounce Back Empowerment Conference, I will have a new anthology, new authors, and new stories. So this year we're going to publish that. The first one, it was something else, the work that I had to do with that one, because I'd never done it before. So next year, I'm looking forward to publishing the second anthology with a group of new 20 plus women that will come through. And my goal is to travel around the world. I love to travel around the world and do bounce back, empowerment conferences around the world. I work it's mostly for women. But men have come to me and said, wait. Nobody's doing anything for the men. Why don't you do, one for men as well? And I said, you know what? Even though we say women, we always have men attending these conferences and they get a lot out of it. We're not talking anything, that men cannot listen to. So I am excited to travel around the world because my authors this year are from Australia, the UK. I have 3 that are in Zimbabwe right now, and South Africa. So you can imagine, I just want to pick one country next year and just have those authors come in and bless them with my presence in there, and we can do a book signing. Why do you look like you have a headache?
No, I just love the fire hose. I love getting fire hose. I think it's a lot of fun. So, okay, I'll be tagging you in this so that people that find you can find you, obviously.
Okay.
After we're done the interview, do you have links that you can drop here for groups, sales funnels, books? You got lots of links, right?
Do I have links?
Does she have links? Yes.
Do I have links? Yes, I do.
Okay, well, you're going to need to please put those.
I sure will. I'll send them to you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll send them to you. I'm very excited, and just so everybody
really
knows.
No, I don't believe you.
Just so everybody knows, right? I came on this interview today. I'm thinking, so when I read Empower Network TV, I'm like, oh, maybe he's looking for guests that can come in and do a show or something on the TV, and he's just going to interview me to say, do you have anything that you can tell the people? But it's just you and I, the interview, to put that together. So I didn't prepare anything, and I'm going, okay, I wonder what I'm going to be asked. And then I get here and I'm told, well, you can actually go live and we're going to talk about what you do. And I'm thinking, oh, I didn't even think about it. And then I remember that when you're passionate about what you do and you're doing everything from the heart and you literally transforming lives, it transforms your life as well, that in your sleep, somebody can ask you all these questions and you're just like rattling them. And it's like, what did you prepare? You've been preparing, all your time. So I always also say to people, let things just come, from the cuff. That's how you know what you're passionate about. That's how you will know also what your purpose is about. So when I'm working with clients, it's one of those things that, many a time I'll put them right there and say, pretend that I'm in your audience and you're telling me about what it is that you want to do or that you have done. And it's 10 years, from now, look back and tell me what you have done, in your life. And it's amazing how how our minds can just expand that, and then we come back now and take the steps towards achieving that.
Well, if you've been listening, watching Empower Network TV, DrStem is fire host. You probably as well. I really appreciate you being here. This was very wonderful and enjoyable, entertaining, informative, inspiring, are the words that come to my mind. Anyway, closing remarks before we wrap up the interview.
Thank you so much for what you do, because just empower is itself, that word empower TV is empowering. It draws people to want to watch this, because then you never know who's going to be a guest and who's going to inspire you to take that next best step. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, and for everybody else, just a reminder, you only have one life, and what are you going to do about it? Make the most of each moment. Thank you.
Beautiful. Let's end the broadcast here. I'm going to continue chatting with you offline here.